Hey there, Bravehearts, Urbanites, and Coach Mad Hatters. I thought I would do something a bit fun for the ushering in of the full moon in Leo. Today is Sunday, February 9th. It is roughly about a quarter to 5 p.m. And so I have a few thoughts that I would like to share about the Netflix series that I believe released on the 7th, so about 2 days ago. And when it initially popped up, um, I wasn't sure about it. I wasn't sure about it. But of course, since I am a huge fan of stories like The Magician, the originals, Harry Potter, The Secret Life of Nicholas Flamel, all of the fantastical, mystical, mythological stories, magical stories that many would claim is just either child's play or for entertainment purposes only. Inside the metaphysical world, most of these stories derive from some type of historical phenomena that has been dismissed as fluff, for the lack of a better term. But those that study within the mythological worlds know, especially if it's magical and mystical and mythological, know that a lot of these stories stem from the greatest epics in history. The stuff that is so phenomenal that it has to be presented in ways that are digestible to the mundane psyche. And I don't say that in terms of it being malicious in any type of way. It's just the way of the world that when you seek magic, magic reveals itself to you. When you believe in it, it stays with you. It shows you itself in the nuance of the everyday hustle and bustle. This series is not only magnetic, but it has the intricate details of what can I say, the legendary attempts to blend regular mundane reality with the quintessentials of the unseen realms, and how us as humans can take on these hues of being, and it will only be incredible to the seeker of it. Those that live in the world of the regular day to day, or the weight of circumstances, usually don't tap into such realms. Most often, the book reader, the storyteller, the imagineer, the artist, the musician, those that tap into the portals of muse for the sake of not only bettering or succeeding for its own life, or its own, for the sake of its own self, but also to be able to be with the magical senses that these realms have to offer, to experience it for the sake of having the experience. So far, we have been introduced, well, so far, I've been introduced to all of the keys except for one. And so, right now, season one, I am right around episode 6, I believe. The most amazing key to me at this particular moment is the one that goes into the back of the neck and unlocks the portal into one's mind. And so all of the characters have a different setting. The youngest kid, when you unlock and go into his mind, it's more of a play area, it's lighthearted. I mean, he's a kid, so it's full of vibrant colors, and it looks like Chuck E. Cheese or like the arcade. It reminds me of a game room. And then his older sister, hers is a mall. And the older brother, even though they have not shown his yet, um, found out that he can throw a book into his portal, and in his reality can regurgitate the entire book. So it got me to thinking that mine would probably look like this antiquated bookstore or antiquated library, just because that's what I fancy most often. Regardless of what kind of book it is, whether it's old or it's new, it's legendary, it's fantastical, it's historical, it's academic, I am in love with paper books. I am also in love with older homes and those that honestly have some type of legend or myth surrounding it. So Key House to me is such a wondrous place, even though it has all of the uh, rumor, all of the weighty, bad, horrific rumors of what has gone down historically in the house. The house itself is it's beyond words. It's beyond words, or it's beyond what I'm able to grab right now, other than wondrous. I often think about what type of life would have been granted to me had I been one of those kids that grew up in a home that not only housed my bloodline for generations, but also offered everything that was dear to them during the times that they were occupying that space. So when the kids first moved into the house, now let me just slow up just for a minute. So the Netflix series is based on a comic book series, which was um, the first photo when this clip first started. So the first photo is the cover of the comic book series, which was, I'm finding out, a lot more horrific and gory than the series that's being played on Netflix at this time. But still, um, and not being familiar with the storyline prior to the introduction through Netflix. At this particular moment, I'm very, very happy that I bumped into it. Or should I say, I'm very happy that I decided to explore it and see what it was about. Um, because just being part of the story when the kids first walked over the threshold of this mystic, intriguing home, and all of the books and journals and artifacts and portraits and secret passageways and just everything that comes with old real estate that your bloodline has occupied. And it has me feeling an intriguing kind of way. And because I've just begun to process these feelings, I really don't have words at the moment for it. But I am figuring that I may do a part two to this after I have completely reviewed the season, as well as journaled a little bit and had time to just reconcile some things. Because at the moment, it makes me feel a bit sorrowful that not many of my people have generational homes, homes that have been left to family that still have remnants of great, 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 great grandma or granddad, or great auntie 3 generations back, 3 generations past. A family home where if you are part of that bloodline, it is large enough. It's a multi family home that is large enough for many to dwell without ever being in anyone's way, and that it has been preserved for the inner family scholarships that you can literally read your great 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 granddad's journal of what it is he was going through, or the people that he knew, or the situations and circumstances that he found himself in, or how he felt about this person or that person. And it actually served as scholarship to one's self actualizations, that a new level, a very intricate, delicate level of education takes place that can't be found anywhere else. I often wonder about that level of tender education, mainly because in the more wider world, in the more sense of livelihood, when we talk about education, it's usually situated around some type of context that's rendered through strangers. And I don't mean to say that those um, that give their life's works inside of academia are actually strangers, but it's not as though the information that is being taught has anything to do specifically with the scholars that it's being taught to. And so the youngest kid is the one that's the most courageous in his uh, quest to find out about the home, to become acquainted with the home, to be at awe and fanciful of everything that the home has to offer, whether it's the history of the portraits that hang on the wall, or sitting in his great 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 granddad's study and just looking through the journals, flipping through the books, just becoming familiar with who everyone was, when and where, how and why. And so it's almost like the essence of the house renders itself to him because he's the one that is emotionally and intellectually seeking its presence. That's magical just in itself. And so the magic of the house doesn't have to prove itself to him. So he's the one that catches on to it and engages it and experiences it first. And most often in these types of storylines, one of my greatest pet peeves, and I know it's not an exaggeration because I've experienced it in my own reality, where you attempt to explain to someone about your magical experiences and it's so readily dismissed. Inside the Harry Potter world, they're called muggles, non magical people, meaning you either don't believe in it or your life isn't situated to the point where you seek it, so it reveals itself to you that you will know it's real. Many who find themselves inside the realm of the magical seeker or the mystic scholar often have to live a life of duality because there are those that you love and you know wish you well, but would never truly be able to understand where you're coming from with some of your experiences because, and it's not that necessarily that they don't believe in it, they themselves just haven't experienced it, so they're not able to relate. Even in their greatest efforts, they're not able to relate. And so then you have to deal with this blackout, this portion of life that requires, I don't know, courage is not really the, or strength, well, strength, well, it just takes a lot of effort to have to uphold your experiences or your reality within the magical, mystical world, and then your just as robust and sustained life within the mundane, muggled world. Most often, those who have experienced these magical essence of existence really wish that those that they really loved or who they know loved them would be able to understand. The incredible life is when you are able to live your day to day life with people who honestly understand you because they themselves are experiencing similar realities. And so, like I said before, my biggest pet peeve in these storylines is when they spend so much life trying to convince others and the dismissive nature of because you haven't been through it that you can't relate. So to allow it in your psyche is dismissed as you're going crazy. The insensitivity to those that surround us who are instantly willing to label it crazy or insane. And sometimes I really would like to see stories where they didn't have to try so hard to say, hey, I just found a magical key. And I know that in this storyline, it's more so for the viewer to relate metaphorically. So these keys, there are keys. There's one key that can set the place on fire. There's another key where if you align a certain place or time in your psyche, turn the key, when you open up the door, it actually puts you right there in the place that your mind's eye just envisioned, as well as a mirroring key, which I think metaphorically speaks to when we reflect or when we are in those spaces of emotional reconciliation. That's the most dangerous um, key that unlocks because, in my humble opinion, you can get caught in this room of mirrors where you literally can become uh, uh, you can become killed by the entrapment of being stuck in the reflection or being lost in this room of mirrors because you are not able to find your way back out. And then there's another key that unlocks a door that the moment you step through it, you become animated and you can fly and you can I have to say that's one of my more favorite portals as well, mainly just because as a kid always wanted to find a way to become outside of myself and just get a bird's eye view of life. And not more so for divination purposes. Not that I really wanted to know what my future held, but just wanted to have a better understanding of what surrounded me and what was connected to me or co-joined to me so that I could maneuver better. Always felt like I was cursed with this thing called bad decision. So, or being capsulated in the ruckus of someone else's bad decisions. And so that's always been a wish for me as a kid, just wanting to be more equipped with what was really going on, that there were not so many uh, secret doors and things that couldn't really uh, reveal to me what the truth of certain matters were. The key that unlocks the door into someone's mind. And so, like I said, I think that mine would depict, or at least I'm hoping, seeing is that, you reflect on the story and you find yourself in it, or you find that where you could fit inside the storyline. And so, unlocking my mind seems to me that it would depict the antiquated library, the place where so much reference was housed, where you could get lost for days just flipping through certain pages and memories and emotions. And it had me wonder for a moment, if in fact this opportunity was rendered to me, what is it that I would go in and what would I do there? What would be the activities of the moment? The sister, because she was so riddled with fear, when she unlocked her mind and stepped into it, she was approached by her fear, which had been embodied into this angry creature. And so she took it upon herself to re enter, in another instance, unlock her mind, go in, re enter into her mind, kill her fear, drag it out, and bury it. And so now the storyline is unfolding where she exists with absolutely no fear. And you could tell the transformation, even though it's more subtle transformations. Well, some of it. Just the she's not a completely changed person where she was acting this way and now she has is now doing the opposite. But you can tell the enhancements of the way she maneuvers in the world now that fear does not weigh on her shoulders. And so I wondered if I would take away my fear. I wonder if I would go in and try to begin nurturing my younger self, my childlike self. Now, it doesn't give, inside the storylines, it doesn't give the option to go and redo instances where, it doesn't take you back to that moment where you can actually change the circumstances. Um, and I honestly believe that if her fear had not morphed into this personified creature, that she wouldn't have really been able to do much with that either. But it is a place where she could, all of them, could adequately go in and spend time with the real memories and find solace in some of the things that they were not privy to before. Being able to go into your mind and honestly see a memory and embrace it and get a better understanding of it allow them a little bit of peace in this weird world they're finding themselves in with their dad no longer around and their mom in this also weird space of grievance. So I just wanted to share some of the um, more robust thoughts that I was having around this series. So far, I am enjoying it immensely. Um, it's doing justice for the magical components that it has incorporated. And like I said, since I am a scholar of story, mainly in the mystical, metaphysical, magical, fantastical realms, I often uh, come across the efforts to bring magic inside of motion pictures. And it's not always an easy thing to do. Most often it's cheesy and corny. But every now and again, you will be amazed at the effort on a level of a Hobbit, a Lord of the Rings, a Harry Potter, yeah, Marvel, Disney, where they literally capture your attention and take you to another land. A Tim Burton. So that's my take on it. And I am going to end it here. If you find yourself all the way through to now, I thank you for hanging with me and my thoughts. If you are a scholar of story as well as a consumer of any of the genres that I mentioned, I invite you to visit with the storyline Lock and Key. Um, and have yourself an enjoyable moment with it. And so, in the meantime, I hope that all is going well. If you are in celebration of the moon's infused energies, or you are a practitioner of its magic, I definitely wish you well over the next 7 to 10 to 14 days. And yeah, until next time.